Hi, Gary Stearman. Welcome to Prophecy Watchers. Time for another update, and I have a very special guest today. His name is Brent Miller Sr. Brent, good to have you back again.
It is always a pleasure to be here with you, Gary.
Brent and I start talking, and it becomes never-ending. There's no end to it because he and I are interested in the same things. And specifically about the Bible and Bible prophecy. And you've produced a lot of material about the end times, helping people to understand. And one of the things that is really, in my opinion, important that's available today is this DVD set. It's called Decoding the Future. In fact, we have a short trailer, which I'd like to run right now, so you can kind of catch a little of the feeling of what these sets are all about.
Before the birth of our modern world, there existed an ancient warning, foretelling of a sequence of events that will reduce our world to ashes. For those who know the warning, the signs are clear. For others, they'll never see it coming. Join cultural anthropologist and theologian Jay McCarl on a journey to decode the most frightening and misunderstood prophecy in history. See through the eyes of the ancient world by uncovering the remnants of those who first received the writings, exposing new evidence that changes everything we thought we knew about the Book of Revelation. This in-depth view sheds new light on a sequence of events that have already been set in motion, and the end is unfolding before our very eyes.
This talks about hail, fire, and this is not the last such judgment. This is only the first.
Is Revelation only a message of destruction, or does it hold the key to our survival?
The whole message of the book is misunderstood wholly.
In our final hours, will you choose to believe?
Everyone fears the end of the world.
Now, tell us how this got developed, your part in it, your son's part, and how this all came about.
Oh, my son is the founder and producer of Ingenuity Films products, which produced the Final Prophecies, the Coming Convergence, the Decoding the Future, and the upcoming Before the Wrath DVD. The Decoding the Future was a brilliant executed job in order to introduce prophecy to churches. Thousands and thousands of churches do not talk about prophecy. And so when my son sat down and talked to these pastors and talked to these theologians to find out why over 25% of the Bible is prophetic, how in the world can you teach your congregation, millions of people, without talking about prophecy? It's because they have to save face. They haven't started out talking about prophecy, and they can't suddenly say, okay, congregation, I was somewhat incorrect. There's so much prophecy in the Bible, we are now going to start talking about prophecy. So he created this DVD set based on the way a Jew would understand the book of Revelation, which introduces prophecy. And as a result, churches all over the country are embracing this. They are using it as like a video night to show their congregation. It's broken up into 37 separate, approximately 20-minute video clips walking you through the book of Revelation as understood by a Jew 2,000 years ago. And it's very easy to understand. And this introduces prophecy to the congregation. Now the prophecy can ask the pastor, well, what about this? And now the pastor can go ahead and teach the congregation. And it is the most enlightening and one of the rarest courses on Revelation you will ever find.
Well, the thing that impresses me about it, and again, Brent, I have to tell you, I can't even count the number of people who have come to me at conferences, people I meet on the street, and the first thing out of their mouth, they don't teach prophecy at my church. And the reason for that is because there's disagreement in teaching of Bible prophecy. There are several different views. There are political reasons, because you start talking about politics, like the Antichrist, and suddenly the Antichrist becomes a kind of maybe a communist or a leftist figure, and suddenly you're talking politics. We don't want politics in our church. But what you have done, and what your son, Brent Miller Jr., has done in this thing is you've stripped the politics out of it, and you give, where there are conflicting views, you give all of the views, so that essentially people will be educated without there being any controversy. And that is something I don't think anybody else has done.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. For instance, let's take the most highly debated view there is, the timing of the rapture.
Yeah.
We indicate the 4 primary views, and we bring in experts to present their views, the pros and the cons, and leave it to the pastor of the individual church to let their congregation know the way that they believe the view is that they want to suggest to their congregation. There are other unique features of this. For example, if there is something that could be understood more clearly, if a visual representation is shown to them, that is shown to them. And Ingenuity Films has spared no cost in doing that. For example, right off the bat, in Revelation chapter 2 and chapter 3, you have the 7 churches of Asia Minor. Now, Ingenuity Films takes you to Turkey. He takes you to all 7 of those cities. He takes you to the ruins. He shows you exactly why Christ said what he did about each of those 7 cities. And when you see it with your own eyes and you compare it with what Revelation says, you suddenly realize this isn't difficult. This is not poetic. Right. This is very clear. The people at that day in time, 2,000 years ago, clearly understood what was said, and now so do I.
And I play a small part in Decoding the Future, in that from time to time I come in and synopsize what's being said. That is, I give a view of what is generally believed about this section of Revelation, this section, in as simple terms as I could do at the time. Yeah. And I'll never forget doing that. It was a hard day's work, but we did it, got it done.
Yeah. You're being too humble, Gary. Your input was actually invaluable, and you are one of the key speakers in various expert points.
It's called Decoding the Future, and I just want to say that it is a way, and maybe the best way, if there's no Bible teaching of prophecy in your church, this is a good way to get that accomplished without being controversial.
Yeah.
Let's talk for a minute about the Final Prophecies. Now, tell us about the history, the background, the subject matter of the Final Prophecies.
The Final Prophecies was the first product created by Ingenuity Films, and it shows how the prophecies that were recorded throughout history have come to pass in the Old Testament. And it takes the believer and the non-believer on a journey. It shows them step by step, well, this was prophesied, and look what happened. And so the non-believer goes, okay, yeah, I agree. This was prophesied, and this is what happened. Okay, I agree. This is what prophesied, and this is what happened. By the time you get to the point where you say, okay, let's look at the source of these prophecies. All of them happened, and then it is made abundantly clear the prophecies, those that are prophetic in nature, that has happened, that we are referring to in the past, are biblical. That's when the non-believer goes, whoa, but I agreed and agreed and agreed. Okay, I'll hear a few more minutes. See, that was the intent. And then you actually jump into Revelation and show, okay, this is what's prophesied in the future with wide brushstrokes. And by the way, if this is what's prophesied, This is what needs to be set up as a foundation for those prophecies to be fulfilled. And guess what? Let's look at the world right now to see if this foundation is being set up. And we point out step by step by step that yes, these various foundations are truly being set up. And then the non-believer is brought to a point where, wait a second, I now either have to accept prophecy or reject prophecy. Now they are brought to the point where they have to make a decision. And that's where we end. And what is so amazing with this is we have found this to be one of the most evangelical tools that's available out there to give to Christians and non-Christians to distribute.
This was written and directed, by the way, by Brent Miller Jr. and your son, who is constantly busy with creative work. And by the way, the production qualities of this are just phenomenal. In fact, let's run the trailer, if you will, that originally came out before the Final Prophecies.
At the world around you. Do you see a world trapped in conflict? Economies in turmoil, hardship and suffering? Do you see a world crying out for help? There are millions of people that believe these are signs that we are living in the final days. It is believed that our future is preordained and destined to suffer the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, plagued with war, poverty, and cataclysm that will reach every corner of the earth. But is it true? Join host Ronnie Cohen in the Middle East as you embark on an epic journey to explore the origin of prophecy in the land of Israel. Go beyond the war on terror by understanding how ancient prophecy has shaped the religious conflict that is rapidly reaching every nation on earth. A conflict that will plunge our world into ruin.
Archaeologists uncover ancient records that foretell of a final global war involving Israel. Experts believe that current Middle Eastern conflicts could escalate to such a scenario.
Are we already on the path to prophetic fulfillment?
If these prophecies are true, there'll be radical changes, much more radical than the world has ever experienced before.
Does ancient evidence reveal warnings from a higher power?
When you look at the way these prophecies come together, one on top of the other, you have only two alternatives. It's either to embrace the fact that they claim they are from God, or that I can't believe that and I have to believe in absolutely improbable odds.
How much time could we have left?
It would be a time of devastation like the world has never seen before. Earthquakes and famines and wars. We see these things beginning to take place.
Understand why millions believe the final prophecies have already begun.
Well, having seen that, I don't have to say anymore. You've gotten a little bit of an idea about the production quality behind this. It's very watchable, pulls you along, very evocative. I think it's a well done.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to discuss the sequence to the Final Prophecies, the Coming Convergence. When Christ was asked, when will these things be? Christ gave a number of events that would happen. And he then added, when you see all of these things come to be, that's when the end will be near. In other words, the convergence of all of these things. And that is the focus of that DVD, to show you today that the events that Christ was talking about, when you see all these things happening, that's when the end is near. And the end is near. It is getting closer than we ever imagined. Because all of these things that Christ talked about are now actually converging, and that is the focus of the Coming Convergence.
And people need to be persuaded about this. You know, the thing I noticed today, and I'm sure you do, is that society is disintegrating at a rapidly increasing pace. And you see it in strange ways, just human behavior on the streets, in large supermarkets, just wherever you go. There's just a general destabilizing of society, and there is an insistence that if you're a Christian, there's something a little bit wrong with you. You're just a little crazy. It's not cool to be a Christian anymore, and this generation is coming up right now in their 20s. Just Christianity ain't cool, to put it bluntly. And we find ourselves in that medium right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because of technology and the world that's being created around us, everybody wants instant gratification. They don't read. They don't watch a channel long enough before they want to flip it, lose their attention span, and move on to the next. So we find that the best way to communicate with people today is in videos, to get right to the heart of the point, to not talk down to anybody, but to give them the message with love, to show them exactly what the scriptures are saying, show them so that they can rationally decide whether what you're saying is true or not true. And you know, just show what the world is doing, show what the prophecy said, and let them decide. Most rational people will decide, wait a second, this is so in touch with exactly what was prophesied, I need to look into this. So these are evangelistic tools that you can use to hand to your friends, to hand to your neighbors, and to witness to other people.
Well, you have done it in the Final Prophecies, the Coming Convergence, but most of all, I want to get back to what we started with today, Decoding the Future, a way of teaching Bible prophecy so that it's non-controversial. It's just informative. And by the way, the travels on this DVD set, you'll go to Turkey and to the biblical ancient ruins of ancient biblical cities. And it's some of the best filming of those cities I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, thank you. We filmed everything, or Ingenuity Films filmed everything in high def. And as you know, you have it available in Blu-ray as well. But in addition to the Decoding the Future, when you obtain the course, you will then have access to a members area, so that if you have questions about any specific lesson in the course, 37 lessons, all about 20 minutes long, you can go online, ask questions, and they will be answered for you. And if enough people
matter of fact, I was just I just pulled this out while you were talking. There's a little booklet that tells about the series, but there's also a code number.
An access code.
An access code that you get when you buy this set, and that enables you to get more information.
Right. So if you have any questions, you can ask, and we'll be happy to share that with theologians such as yourself and other contributors in order to answer those questions.
Thanks for what you do. And let me just talk to our audience for a moment and say that if you go to prophecywatchers.com, scroll down and find the online bookstore, and you're going to find the productions of the Millers. Decoding the Future, right there at the top of the list. It's a 7-disc course on DVD or Blu-ray, yours for $99.95, and let me tell you, that is a wonderful price for a production like this. And as a bonus, to go with this, when you order, you can get either the Final Prophecies or the Coming Convergence. And prophecy is something that, to me, is absolutely necessary for the student of the Bible. Why? Because you can become very, very discouraged studying the Bible. You can look at the dark side and you can see what's coming, and you can get really depressed. But if you study prophecy, suddenly it becomes a little bit lighter, right?
It's a message of hope, is what it is.
That's the hope part in the Bible. It's called the blessed hope, Titus 2:13. Brent, thanks for being with us today. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
Keep up the good work.
Will do. Thank you.
I'm Gary Stearman. Hey, keep watching. We are.
Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.